So Carolina, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, I'm excited to kind of dive into these topics with you around coaching and sensitivity. And um, I guess the first kind of where to start is to hear a little bit more about your story. So, um, you know, what's your relationship with this sensitivity and highly sensitive people? What's been your experience?
Okay, so a little bit of introduction. I'm Karolina. I'm a transformational coach. I also have a second career, or my previous career, which is business intelligence analytics. And I'm a full-time digital nomad. So I have been traveling the world for the last 3 years. And right now I'm doing this interview from Fuerteventura in Canary Islands. And I can see the sea from my apartment.
Beautiful.
Um, and I'm mentioning this because I think it's relevant to this discussion, because I think the way I organized my life was largely due to the traits that I have that I didn't know how to call, but somehow they always influence my decisions about my work, my environment that I enjoy. So I'm a highly sensitive person. I scored really high on this test, but
Mm,
I'm also a high sensation seeker, which is, this group where you have one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake, when you always like have to manage overstimulation and seeking stimulation,
mhm.
which is only 5% of the population. So I always felt like I did things differently. I was different in some way, but I didn't fit into like to a very introverted group because I like freedom, exploring, traveling. I always seek these new experiences. But at the same time, in a group of explorers and travelers, I always felt the quiet one.
Mm.
So um, learning more about these traits actually helped me understand myself better and get the lens through which I could like really understand what was going on, like this duality, you can say, that I had to manage and learn, basically.
Yeah.
Uh, mhm.
And yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? It's kind of a learning journey that we go on to understand ourselves and this duality you mentioned of like the analogy of having one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. I really resonate with that. Um,
Are you
go
also a high sensation seeker?
well. I'm not sure. I don't. It's not something I've really like dug into, but I think
Hmm.
I have definitely like a fast mind, and I'm like thinking a lot. And
Hmm.
so and then I have to kind of slow it down with the brake pedal um,
Hmm.
in order to feel kind of more centered and stable and grounded. um,
Yeah, that's something Elaine Aron mentions, that highly sensitive people are almost always high sensation seekers, but often inwards. So we seek like the most interesting thing we can
mm,
think about or explore or learn about, and it's not necessarily in the outside world. But in my case, I also like exploring the outside world.
yeah, yeah. And you mentioned you're a digital nomad, and I wondered what inspired you to take that route to kind of travel and work. How did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so 3 4 years ago, I had a normal office job I lived in Berlin, which is a quite overwhelming big city,
Mm,
loud, with people around you all the time.
mm,
And my company was also um, a big one, so it was a fast-paced office environment. And even though I enjoyed my work, I think I got very lucky with this job. I enjoyed my tasks. I enjoyed people around me,
mm,
but I always felt it wasn't really for me. I never felt completely happy. I never felt like it was my place. I
mm,
didn't like the whole concept of going to the office every day, and going to the same office for many years was just scary to me to think that in 2 3 years I'm still going to be in the same room, and it felt a little bit like I was missing out on the real life
Mm.
somewhere outside,
Yeah.
because I love nature. I just um, love spending time going on walks, looking at the beaches or in the forest, and you don't get this if you are in a big city and working full time.
Mm.
Another thing was this lack of purpose that I experienced in my early 20s, because
Mm.
uh, like you follow the normal path, you study and then you get a job and then you create value in some position in some company, but there's normal until this point there's little time to stop and ask yourself the big questions, the existential questions. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of my life? And as highly sensitive people, we tend to ask these questions more. Like we have this rich inner life, and it really matters to us if what we do has a purpose.
Mm.
And my job was very technical, analytical, and I felt like I was mm, not spending enough time um, doing what I felt called to do. I felt called to read mm, research about psychology, about human life, say
Yeah.
self-development, and there was just no time for this. So that was another reason. Plus the whole office environment and interactions, they felt quite shallow, and I really need deep human connection in my life. And
Mm.
I felt it's just the 40 hours per week were spent in a way that didn't make me happy.
Mm.
So I started reflecting on how I could change that. Like, why am I in this job? The obvious reason was that I needed money, and
Yeah.
I'm also quite ambitious. I wanted to feel successful. I wanted to achieve something significant, and like that's the most obvious way you can do it, through having a career in a business world. But then I realized that doesn't necessarily have to be in the way that the world is presenting to us. That you have to be in the office. I realized that it's actually possible to do very good job remotely
Mhm.
and have more time. You don't have to do it 40 hours per week. I'm actually probably much more productive working less. At the moment, I have a job where I work 3 days per week and I'm 100% focused then. And then I have my other 4 days to relax and do what makes me happy. Like
Mm.
just have variety. It's not even um, that I don't enjoy this career, but I need more, like more variety and
Yeah.
some space to explore my curiosities.
Mm.
And so that's what I did. I quit my job. It was a very scary moment where I realized, okay, I'm right now leaving the beaten path, and what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to be okay? But as you know, we as highly sensitive people, we plan very carefully. So I calculated that I really had a cushion. I could be, I don't know, 3 6 months without a job, and if I wanted to go back with my skills and experience, I knew it probably wouldn't be so difficult.
Mm.
So I took the leap, and it turned out fantastically. I found clients very soon, and started to be able to work from beautiful places like Bali, like Kenya, like um, anywhere in Europe, basically, as long as the time zone worked with my clients. I could be wherever, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm. Amazing. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I love how it sounds like you've carved out this lifestyle that really suits you, that suits your personality and suits your skills and suits your where you want to be as well. And it's quite inspiring really to hear that. And also this lifestyle of, being really focused for 3 days a week and then having 4 days to explore other opportunities and to do different things and to have variety. um, it sounds really kind of holistic as an approach. Um, yeah. So, and you mentioned in the introduction that you have a career, you have kind of dual career, but that you're also a transformational coach. Um, and I wondered what inspired you to become a coach and to train in coaching.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So after I quit my job and started to have a little bit more time, I did what I really wanted to do for a very long time, and I couldn't, which was reading. I started to read so much and explore all the topics that interested me.
Yeah.
And as every highly sensitive person, again, I saw everything that was wrong with this world. I was worried about the environment, about inequalities, about how can I, as an individual, contribute to something good? Like, how can I spend my time in the best way to be proud of myself, to know that I made the difference. And I didn't quite know where to start, because one thing is to be idealistic and feel what your values tell you, and another is to make a living and like make money somehow,
Mm,
which is always like um, looking for this balance between um, what's what calls you and what's realistic.
mhm,
Um, but books were a great place to start. I started researching just what's written about charity work, about making an impact, about how to do it effectively, how to do it realistically.
mhm,
I read this fantastic book, 8,000 Hours,
mhm,
which is 80,000 hours, which is about how, as a young, talented person, you can think about your career to make the best impact, the most good in the world,
mm,
and do it in an effective way, not just something that sounds nice and it's this beautiful story, but it doesn't really make sense in the real world. But they describe how you can use your talents in one of the four ways: research, hands-on work, donation, or advocacy. Like, all these routes are very effective ways to do better. And I started to like look for ways to apply my abilities, my talents into some cause that I would believe in.
yeah.
I looked for this vocation, some maybe career change or something extra to what I already had. I even went to Uganda to spend some time in a country that is on level one, development level one, to see like how this world that we don't normally see looks like, because it's like we in our Western, let's say, world, travel, but we travel to countries where it's easy to travel. So
Mm,
I wanted to go somewhere where it wasn't easy to travel, when there were not many white people used to comfort, and just explore if I would be called to do work in such place, maybe,
mm,
or just how can I contribute, right?
yeah.
Um, Another thing I did was looking for more spiritual answers. I did a silent retreat called Vipassana.
Yeah.
Changed my life. Was a fantastic experience. The 10 days of silent reflection really helped me find my answers,
Mhm,
like on spiritual level. What are we doing here? What's important? And that was also a beautiful experience. But it all built my knowledge and awareness of the world, but it didn't give me anything actionable. What can I do? I still didn't know. So the Uganda experience made me realize that I'm probably going to contribute most by donating money to people who are better suited to do work there.
mhm,
So that solved my how can I help make this world better problem.
yeah.
Meditation helped me answer like more spiritual questions, but what about the vocation? And then I was reading a book by August Turak, It's called Business Secrets of the Trappist Monks.
Mhm.
And he defines the purpose of life there. So people normally avoid defining the purpose. Like there are several probably different ways of looking at it. But this one really resonated with me. And he writes, the purpose of every human life is to be transformed from selfish to selfless being.
Mm.
And I loved it so much. Like when I read it, I realized this is something very important is happening right now for me.
Mm.
Um, I was on a plane from Gran Canaria to Berlin. So imagine this sitting with headphones, because I normally listen to audiobooks rather than read, and realizing that this is what I was looking for, that
Mm.
is going to help me choose the career.
Mm.
And transformation was the key word. I realized that the purpose of life is transformation.
Mm.
It's always, I later added evolution as well, like self-evolution
Yeah.
rather than the general evolution of species.
Mhm.
And I realized if this is the purpose, this is the most important thing, I want to be working in this. I want to help people have breakthroughs similar to the one I had on my plane
Yeah.
when I realized what really resonated with my heart. So I decided to train as a transformational coach. I also thought about this deeply, as we do as HSPs,
Yeah.
and I realized it really goes well with all my strengths. Like analytical mind helps me analyze what people tell me.
Mm.
Empathy helps me understand what's going on for them, how they feel,
Mm.
and just being a good listener is all that you need to become a good coach.
Mm.
Never regretted the decision. Was probably the best decision so far.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Really powerful story. Thanks for sharing that. And I can really feel how it pulled together all these threads for you of self development and self growth, but then shifting to being able to help others as well. Um, and so, how long have you been coaching now?
I trained in 2019, so
Mm.
it's 2 years.
Yeah.
Right now, I I'm past this phase where I felt like a beginner. I'm in the process of getting ICF certificate,
Yeah.
so really enjoying my journey
Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah. And I wondered throughout this coaching journey, what have you learned from coaching, whether it's sensitive or highly sensitive or just your clients? Have you
Mm-hmm.
have you kind of are there any kind of key things you've learned from your clients? Whether it's behaviors or challenges or opportunities. Um,
Mm-hmm. So when you become a coach, everyone tells you you should find a niche. And
mm,
that was awful for me because I enjoy working with all kinds of people. I prefer probably to work with people that reflect deeply and they're not too extroverted. Like quiet personalities work better with me, but it wasn't, even this wasn't the rule. So I had great coaching processes with also people that were not like that.
mm,
So that was a tough decision. And after reflecting on it a lot, I realized that who I resonate most with is creatives, it's
mm,
artists. So
mm,
this is this part of me that wasn't expressed when I was in my corporate tech job. But my mom is a writer, and I do have some of her creativity for sure.
mm,
And I before I wanted to maybe write to do something creative, but after training as a coach, I realized how creative this job is. Like how many ideas you have to put together, how the coaching session itself is I don't want to say a performance, but you really have to be creative to do it well.
mm.
So this became my art, and this is also how I explain creative people why this is my niche, why I love working with them,
Yeah.
um, because I just understand their need to connect deeper in themselves, to express themselves, um, to express something universal, this creative power speaking through them. And it worked fantastically. Like I think because I went on such a long journey myself, looking for my purpose, I think I can really well help people with the same, and also to find their creative expression that is maybe blocked, that maybe they don't know how to integrate in their lives. Maybe they have a day job and they want to be an artist, and they have to work through some blocks around this.
Mm.
So I have enjoyed this a lot, and I see a lot of overlap between creatives and highly sensitive people. So even though I didn't say I'm working with highly sensitive people, a lot of artists are, because it makes sense. Like, we process deeply, we have rich inner life, we want to later express what we came to.
Yeah.
What have I learned from this? Um, Many HSPs that, like, not everyone I worked with did the test, so I can only assume sometimes if they're high sensitive or not. Some did, so some of my clients knew more about high sensitivity than I did.
Mhm.
But I realized there's often a lot of outside pressure that they don't know how to handle. Some beliefs that they cannot take this time to process, to be by themselves. They feel guilty if they have to tell their family that now they need to be alone, or that they don't take care of others before they take care of themselves. So
Mhm.
helping them to accept their that this is something physiological. Like, this was also a big part of my journey of understanding this when I read the book Quiet by Susan Cain.
Mhm.
And she explains there very well that this is a trait of the nervous system. It's not something that we make up. This is real, and we have to understand it and we have to manage it. Otherwise, it's going to always work against us, because this need is not going to disappear. We need to manage our um, overwhelm, like, find a way to not get overwhelmed so much.
Mm.
So I help my clients understand this, and I help them set boundaries. I help them just find this time for themselves. I can give you an example from my life. Like, I love stimulating environments, but at the same time, of course, I have to remember about my sensitivity. So I
Yeah.
went for a conference that was 2 weeks long, and it was on a boat. It's
Oh,
called
wow.
Nomad cruise.
Mhm.
And the first thing I did, I took the schedule and I scheduled in meditation time. Like, this is the time when I'm in my cabin and I'm not feeling guilty about this, so that I could participate in everything else.
Yeah.
So that's a very important step for every HSP to manage that.
Mm.
Um, but I also realized they are more self-aware than other clients.
Mhm.
They naturally engage with me in very deep discussion. We can go deep. They have the vocabulary even to explore their inner world in
Yeah.
a very meaningful way. But they sometimes get lost in their story,
Mm.
so they need this space where I'm holding the space where they explore, um, and maybe find the beliefs that they couldn't see from their perspective.
Mm.
It's almost always like this in the coaching process. Like, that's a part of our job, but with highly sensitive people, maybe it's easier to get lost in your very rich inner world.
Mm.
But what I love about working with them is this trait, differential susceptibility.
Mhm.
They are just much more susceptible to any kind of intervention, which also means to coaching.
Mm.
They make amazing progress. I had one client who came to me with a topic. She wanted to work on something for 6 sessions, and we were basically done in two. And then she moved on to something else
Yeah.
because she just really heard all the insights. She really integrated it in between the sessions,
Yeah.
did the work on herself, and then just did it faster than we had planned.
Mm, amazing. Yeah.
Plus the creativity, of course. It's beautiful to work with high sensitive people because the sessions are so much richer and deeper, and there are this subtle details that they understand, I understand, and we can communicate in a very beautiful way.
Mm, yeah. Amazing. There's so much in there around sensitivity and creativity, um, helping people understand and know themselves as well. And you almost, I could like see the way that you're talking about kind of creating and holding space so that they can explore these things. And also the thing that sticks in my mind is you mentioned boundaries as well. So like understanding when to take time off, like on your Nomad cruise, and
Yeah,
that, and like just having that self-awareness of like, right, I need, certain time to process. um and
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
sorry, go ahead.
One other thing I just thought about
Mm,
is even vocabulary that they use.
mm,
They often come and say, I'm overly sensitive, there's something wrong with me. And I have to educate them and say, it's called high sensitivity. It's not overly sensitive. So
yeah,
that we change it from the negative to more positive and start to um, have more acceptance of the trait rather than seeing it as something wrong.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? Because there can be negative connotations with like, being too sensitive, being overly sensitive. But like you say, to shift it to no, it's a high sensitivity, then it becomes more neutral, and then there's challenges, but there's also opportunities, which I think is so
For
important.
sure.
Mm, um, amazing. I wondered, from your work, do you have any other tools or resources that you'd recommend for people?
Hmm. I can definitely recommend two tools that I use on daily basis. So
Hmm.
I recommend everyone to have some kind of daily routine.
Hmm.
I put all my routine pieces in the morning because I like to do it this way. And there are two things that I do every day and it's non-negotiable.
Hmm.
If I don't do it, I feel that I haven't done it. And it's journaling and meditation.
Mm,
So meditation, I do first thing in the morning. I do 30 minutes. I know it's a journey before you can do it for a longer time. There
yeah.
are apps, there are lots of resources how to learn it. But I feel like the quality of my life improved from the moment I learned meditation.
Mm,
I remember before I learned meditation, I knew I should learn meditation at some
yeah,
point, but I was
yeah,
postponing it. I was trying by myself and it didn't really work. Then I did this extreme 10-day silent retreat when I really learned it,
yeah.
and it's still paying off. So, absolutely recommend this.
Mm,
My my favorite meditation style is Vipassana.
mhm.
I know transcendent meditation works for other people, and there are many other flavors. But choose what calls you, and have one of these as part of your routines.
Yeah.
Second thing is journaling.
Mhm.
I really recommend the book The Artist's Way.
Mm,
And this book recommends a special kind of journaling, which is called morning pages. You're
yeah,
supposed to do it first thing in the morning, just after you wake up. It normally doesn't work like this for me. I like to go to a cafe and have my coffee and journal there.
yeah,
And it was also some time before I stopped feeling weird when I did that because I'm normally the only person sitting alone and journaling.
yeah.
When I'm not, I'm always making friends, because if I see another person doing the same thing, we are probably going to get along.
Yeah.
So I even met a coaching client this way.
Mm,
Mm. But what it does for me is creating this space where I can process every day. So I'm waking up and then I'm taking care of my inner world, or my thoughts, my worries. I call it even my personal board meeting.
yeah.
So
Mm,
strategizing on what I want to do, what I did in the past. Like the best thinking happens for me in these morning sessions. And I would say I owe this practice a
mm,
lot of what I managed to achieve in my life.
mm,
Even just reflection and integration of different insights from learning, from books, from coaching, like all this, I was able to process better by journaling about this.
mm.
So life-changing practice, absolutely recommended. I've been doing it for the last 5 years, and I'm not going to stop,
Yeah.
probably ever.
Brilliant.
And then there are some things that you need in times when there's something happening, when you're stressed, when you need to process something that is more difficult, not just normal daily events.
Yeah.
And what has worked for me is EFT, so tapping.
Mhm,
Um, the full name of it is Emotional Freedom Technique.
mhm.
There is a great TED talk about this, so you can find all the resources online. But how it works is you tap on specific places on your body,
Yeah.
um, specific points, and connect to the negative feelings that you feel in the moment. And what I love about this is it's something in between thinking and processing and body work, and it's very calming and grounding, the tapping itself. And uh, it's proven to even stop panic attacks. Like if you learn to have it in your toolkit, it can really help you in these moments when you are too stressed,
Mm,
very stressed. And one more thing that I discovered just recently is breath work. So
mhm.
I didn't hear about this until a year ago, but it has the same qualities as EFT. It's not only in your mind, you're using the whole body to, or the breath is really affecting your whole body. So regulating your breath, you are at the same time engaging your mind to do it, and your body to start breathing differently.
Mm,
And there are different kinds of breath work with different goals. Like you can change your alter your consciousness, or you can just reduce stress, or you can just explore it. Breath work as the last recommendation.
yeah. Brilliant. Thank you for that. Some really great recommendations in there. So you mentioned meditation, um, journaling, and especially the morning pages from Artist Way, which
Yeah.
which sound brilliant. Um, EFT, emotional freedom technique. That one I've come across around the jaw. Someone showed me some tapping around like the jawline. Um, she's a body worker, and she said that the jaw is one of the like the strongest muscle
Mm-hmm.
in the body, and it holds a lot of tension, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so to kind of release it through tapping and through awareness can be really beneficial for people. So yeah, I love that recommendation. um, yeah. um, and then the fourth one was
Breath work.
I'm lost in my thoughts now. Breathwork, yeah.
Yeah.
So and you mentioned there were multiple kind of goals or ways of doing breathwork as well.
Yeah.
So for people listening, they can explore those different kind of goals and outcomes. Um,
Exactly.
yeah.
Maybe last one I would mention is try energy healing.
Mm,
Some people say it's woo, but since we are very sensitive, it can actually work very well for us. Like I can really experience the benefits of Reiki, for example. So if you want
yeah.
to do something really nice and calming for yourself,
Mm,
get a Reiki session and see if it works for you.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's it. It's like this attitude or approach of like try it and see if it helps. I love that
Mhm.
approach. Is like you don't know until you've tried it. So like go with an open mind and see if energy healing and these other modalities can actually be helpful for you. Um,
Exactly.
it's kind of a process. It feels like a process of self-care as well. Even just trying out these different things and seeing how does it resonate with me and my body and my mind. um, it feels like tuning into something and honoring your own like process somehow.
Absolutely.
Mm. And then would you have any, as we kind of come towards the end of the conversation, do you have any key takeaways that you'd like to share? um, or maybe there's some that you've covered some or all of them already in these recommendations, but yeah, just wondered if there are any key takeaways.
Hmm. When I was reflecting on this topic before our interview,
Mm.
I kind of structured what I think is most important for highly sensitive people into the three A. Um, you can make an analogy to a battery, like how to manage your energy is the three A. First, acceptance. Like accept that you have this trait, that it comes with gifts, but it also comes with some inconveniences, maybe, let's call it like this. You have to just remember that you are different than the majority, and you are living in a system that wasn't built for you. Like example could be an office environment where sometimes you are sitting in a place that has wrong lights, and maybe it's noisy and you just cannot focus, and you are not very productive. uh, Learn to make your own rules, ignore what others tell you that you should be doing,
Mm.
and just decide what works for you. Trust yourself, because you have great self-awareness naturally, and just start trusting it and following it, and it will show you exactly what to change to be happier
Mm.
and just thrive, be more productive. Second A will be appreciation.
Mhm.
Learn to appreciate what's beautiful and good about you, because I think it, it's often the experience for high sensitive people that when they're growing up, people want them to be different, want them to be more outgoing, because that's rewarded in our culture, and maybe they learn that there's something wrong with them.
Mm.
I heard a story of someone's dad saying, "But are there any advantages to being sensitive? Like any?" So if you grow up in such an environment, obviously you're going to focus on what you cannot do and wanting to be different.
Mm.
Um, so I invite you to really look for the things that you appreciate about yourself. Don't take yourself for granted. So maybe you like this deep processing, your deep, like rich inner world. Maybe the creativity, um, being conscientious, connecting with people, empathy. These are all gifts that you have, and they are part of the package. You wouldn't have them without this trait.
Mm.
And one exercise you can do is asking people around you what they appreciate about you.
Mm.
Simply that. Like sometimes you don't even know. Maybe people don't share it spontaneously, but they do appreciate many things about you. And for example, when I ask about this, or the feedback I got from friends is that I can listen to them deeply. And what they especially appreciated was that I can see their uniqueness. I really care and see what's unique about them. And they really like this feeling of me seeing more to them than maybe less sensitive people, which is actually exactly what makes me a good coach. So, like really appreciating the gifts that you are bringing to the world,
Mm.
remembering that they are needed, that if you don't take care of yourself, you will not be able to give these gifts that you are supposed to bring to the world. And the third A will be adjust. adjust your life, your environment, in order to bring those beautiful gifts to to the world.
Mm, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. So the three A's of energy, kind of like a battery:
Yes.
acceptance, appreciation, and adjust. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, I think there's so much in there, and as a model and as a these core concepts, I think people can get a huge amount from those. So yeah, that sounds great. Um, cool. As we kind of come towards the end of the conversation, I wondered, is there anything else that you wanted to share that you feel like we haven't covered, or um, just wanted to leave that space a little bit open in case my questions didn't cover something that you had in mind? Um,
I think we covered a lot, but there's one thought that I think is very important here, that I reflected on thinking about this topic, is to really appreciate our differences
mm,
and not feel that there's something wrong with us or that we are worse because we have this trait,
mm,
and also not to go to the other extreme and think we are better.
mm,
So just remembering that diversity is very important, and if we do it right, so we appreciate highly sensitive people and we appreciate the less sensitive people, and remember that all um, all versions of nervous systems, let's say, are
yeah.
needed, and we cannot do some things without the other traits. Like, I remember a situation where I was helping to clean up after a fire in a house, and after some time, I realized I just wasn't able to be there for one more minute. I had to leave, and I was feeling guilty because I wanted to help, but
Mm,
then I realized I can make food for the people that were still working there. So I made sandwiches, and I remember this as an example of do what you can and bring to the team what you are best suited to do,
mm,
and be grateful for the others to be able to do things that you are not able to do.
mm, yeah.
So just appreciating diversity.
Yeah, appreciating diversity is so important. Yeah, it's also what comes to my mind is like appreciating your strengths as well. Like that everyone's different. So yeah, amazing. Carolina, where can people find you to connect or to hear more?
People can find me on my website, on Instagram, or on Facebook, and I made it easy for them. It's carolina.coach on all the platforms.
Great.
So especially on Instagram, Carolina with K .coach.
Yeah, great. Mm,
Oh, and one more thing, I have a group coaching program for people to go through the exercises for the artist's way together. And I think it's a lovely proposition for HSPs, specifically, because it's such a small group where we explore, like, how can we take care of ourselves better.
mm,
So I think that would be um, an interesting thing for HSPs.
yeah, and where is that, on Facebook, or where's that group held?
Uh, it's a group coaching program.
Okay,
So we
okay,
are starting every 3 months, because it's a 12-week program, and just to connect with me, and maybe that will be something for you.
brilliant. Okay, amazing. Carolina, thanks so much for coming on and for sharing. It's been a real pleasure kind of hearing your story and hearing about how you think and how you work with sensitivity and creativity. So thank you. It's been brilliant.
Thank you. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Brilliant. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll put a link to your website and Instagram with this podcast so that people can find you.
Sounds great.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.